Hey guys, here we are. This is Bashak, yoga teacher and therapist and an engineer. Welcome.
Hi, guys, this is Kate, and we is a podcast about learning and empowerment, where spirituality and wisdom guide us to live with clarity, purpose, and inner strength. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, today we have an amazing guest. Without further ado, I want to invite Kishori Gopi or Kelly to turn on the camera. Hi,
Hi, sweet souls. Hi, thank you so much for
Haribo,
having me.
welcome.
Haribol.
Oh, welcome.
So lovely to have you as a guest. I met Kelly Kishori in India, actually, on a training, wisdom training, with our teachers, Raghunath and Kostobadas. And she made such an impression. And I'm so excited so honored to have you in our show. Today, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. So, before we get to our questions to you, we're so
Mhm.
curious about you. I want to just do a little bit of an intro so that you can just sit and relax and listen to who you are.
Thank you.
Kishori Gopi, formerly Kelly Skinner, is a spiritual teacher, Bhakti Yogi, energy healer, and end of life doula, devoted for helping beings live radiantly and die gracefully. Based in Burlington, Vermont, she weaves together yoga asana, meditation, bhakti yoga, energy healing, and compassionate presence to guide others in deepening their spiritual practice, navigating grief, and remembering their true nature. Alongside her husband, Samya Prasa, she co-leads the VT Bhakti House Sangha, offers weekly yoga, free kirtan, international retreats, and group or one-on-one programs for devotional living, energetic healing, and conscious endings, all inviting others to return to the heart and experience the transformative power of divine love. Woo! That's just,
Wow.
I'm already feeling this like vibration around me as I'm reading the words. Like, wow, what a powerful, divine, feminine presence that you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very humbling and sometimes a little awkward to hear your bio shared, but yeah, I'm grateful for the ability to be a conduit for such healing to happen in this life, and it's really a
That's
privilege.
beautiful.
It's a
Well,
privilege and responsibility, and it's an honor to be here to share time and space with you two beautiful goddesses and your amazing community, undoubtedly. And thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
wonderful. Yes, we are here to share, we are here to serve, love. And as we talk about service and love, I'd like to ask you the first question. What
Please.
first drew you to Bhakti Yoga?
Yeah, beautiful. And bhakti, as your viewers may know, right, is one of the four paths of yoga, the yoga of love and devotion. And um, I began my yoga journey in middle school on the yoga mat. My mom brought me to yoga when I was in middle school, and she loved mantra and kirtan, and so she had a yoga CD in her car, and Krishna Das was on that, and some different. Now kirtaniyas that I know, but I didn't know them then. And I went to a Krishnadas concert in a church years ago, and probably 20 years ago in Northampton, Massachusetts. And so I was also raised Catholic, and so faith was a part of my upbringing. However, I was also a very competitive alpine ski racer, and ski races were
Yes, and
on
you did not
Sundays.
mention that in your bio. I should have mentioned that. That is incredible.
Yes, so skiing was, everything to me for quite some time. And I went to a ski racing academy for high school. I traveled the world skiing, and ski races were on Sundays growing up. And so we stopped going to church and as much, and became kind of more of like Easter and Christmas Eve church dwellers, but I always felt very connected to God, to something bigger than me, but I didn't necessarily really resonate with all that I learned in the Catholic Church. And so I actually couldn't even use the word God for like 15 years. And yoga and nature and spirit and universe really became my way of connecting to the divine. And then it was in college where I was racing Division One. I went to college to ski race Division One, and I broke my femur in the first competition.
Oh,
And
What
it
a
was
bummer and a blessing.
exactly bummer and a blessing. You know what?
wow.
I love alliteration, so I love the double B's there. And it was the first time like I realized I identified I am a ski racer, and all of my friends were ski racers, and I couldn't ski race. So I started thinking. I had continued practicing yoga asana, dabbled in a little chanting, but really it was like the physical practice that I was drawn to until I needed a place to sit with these questions and take them of like, okay, if I can't ski race right now, so that can't be who I am. So I started asking some bigger questions. So who am I beyond this sport that I do? Which I did for another 3 years after that. But it still opened my mind to more of what the practice of yoga offers off of the mat. And so after college, I did a yoga teacher training, and, you know, having these roots in yoga asana, I always wanted to go to India. And so I left a long-term relationship and went to India. And I on that trip met His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who is my now guru, who gave me that name, Kishori Gopi. And my experience in meeting him and hearing his words of, I'm not interested in what you call God. It could be Krishna, Radha, Spirit, Universe, Buddha, Allah, Mother Nature, or God. I'm here to help you find your path and reconnect to that essence of your own soul and its connection to source. And so that hearing that felt like, yeah, that's how I've always felt. And I had a Bhagavad Gita on my bookshelf from yoga teacher training, you know, half a decade prior, but I couldn't read it. I knew what it was about, but I couldn't open it. I knew that I think I subconsciously knew if I did, it would change my whole life, and I wasn't ready for it to change my life. And I knew it would likely lead me away from my partner at the time, so I wasn't going to read it. And then we broke up anyway, and I went to India and dove into the Bhagavad Gita, and just this resurrection of the power of sound in healing and the transcendental sound vibration of kirtan, and what I had dabbled in a little bit growing up and with Krishna Das, I experienced full-fledged in India, and it just Krishna hooked my heart, right? It was like just an immediate knowing, this is what I've been searching for my whole life and didn't have the words to describe. And so it really felt like a homecoming, and Bhakti gave me a relationship, a personal relationship with the divine, not just an idea of spirituality, but a living, loving relationship that also honored the divine feminine, the goddess. So it helped me transform my yoga from a physical practice, which I still practice every day and teach, and but a way to bring it off the mat into the world and how I live and eat and speak and serve and love.
That's so inspirational.
It
Wow.
is. And were you always a singer? And just in terms of the kirtan, was that always sort of there in your subconscious?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's funny. I don't identify as a singer. I don't think of myself as a singer. I always loved singing. I would sing in the shower, and I could hear a song on the radio, and I knew the words like immediately. I'd hear it once, and I knew all the words.
Wow.
And I've been able to carry a tune, but I never took singing lessons. I played the piano, so playing the harmonium and learning melodies and such has come,
Easy.
with maybe a little more ease. But I've taken trainings and such as well since really. Sharing kirtan more and more. And interestingly, I'd already been playing the harmonium in my yoga classes and singing mantras, but not really the Maha Mantra, which is the mantra my guru has given me, and not leading kirtans, but like playing in Shavasana. And so It's wild how my voice has just blossomed through my devotional practice. It's like, it's so true that it's not coming from me. It's like, it's coming from down, above,
Channel.
down, inside out. It's really like an offering. So I always get a little embarrassed, like I love singing and I love sharing kirtan, and I'm, these identities of I am a singer, I am a skier. I'm like trying to get away from that, and because my ego just gets involved, and I don't want that. I want to practice humility more and more. I try and pray for more humility.
Ah.
But I guess in short, I've always loved to sing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was a sort of a
So
natural
then I
progression.
should ask this,
Hmm.
how did Bhakti change the way you see yourself, since we talked about these identifications?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that I guess I sort of alluded to it, but it first and foremost, that first big lesson and wake up was I'm not my body, and I'm not the things that my body does. Right?
Thank
Being an
goodness.
athlete, being a singer, being a redhead. I've identified with being a redhead. I wrote my college essay about being a redhead, and like
How
I
can
got
you
made
not?
fun of a lot for being a redhead, and like carrot
Oh,
top and gingers have no soul. South Park made that a whole thing while I was in college, so thank you, South Park.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm constantly, remembering and re-remembering and re-remembering that I'm not my body. It's so, the path of least resistance is to believe I am. I am a woman, I'm a redhead, I'm a singer, I'm a yogi, I am a skier, these different things. So learning to relate, that concept really just in itself was
mhm.
really big. And it's really changed the way I understand my circumstances and that which happens in the world. So there's this
Mm.
core teaching in the Bhakti tradition, right, of that everything that Krishna, God, and Radharani, goddess, are really at the center of everything, and that nothing is random. There's no coincidence. That there's these there's karma and reincarnation.
Mhm.
And so I've had a hand in everything that actually is unfolding in my life. And therefore, everything is happening for me and for my growth and more for my evolution and for my, as we say, anartas, the unwanted parts of my mind and my wounds and my limiting beliefs to rise to the surface so that I can purify them and not be weighed down by them, which prevents me from connecting more deeply to God, right? And to my service. So that everything is happening for me, not to me.
Yeah.
I'm
Big
not a
distinction.
body,
Yeah.
and that's actually true. So
Beautiful.
Hmm.
because life is, the word I'm really leaning into recently is buagony. Have you heard this word, buagony? It's beautiful agony.
Oh,
Right. And it's just beautiful. Like I went on a walk this morning and we live near Lake Champlain and the Adirondacks are across the lake,
oh,
and it's gorgeous and like the sun and it's just like so beautiful and like
It
being with the
hurts.
people you love. And
Yeah.
then like because we love so big, we grieve so big and like it's so
mm,
painful and like
yeah,
even just stubbing your toe is painful. What to speak of losing someone you love or a sense of
yeah.
identity or aging, So it's this, Bhakti's helped me to really understand that and to accept that.
Yeah. Buagony.
Buagony.
I love it.
You can
Agony.
have it.
I think we'll get
Share it with
stuck with that.
everyone.
This will be the title of this conversation. Wow, it's
Buagony.
amazing. That is amazing. And so how so this we've talked about yourself and your growth. Now, how has
Mm,
bhakti changed how you deal with others or how you communicate with others or how you
mm.
your community? How has that changed for you?
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you. Um, Well, first and foremost, I try, and as our teachers teach us, to try to have more compassion for myself, in which case I can then extend that more to others. And so I see, and also my work as an energy healer and such has supported in this that it's all connected, of course, of like hurt people, those that are hurting others, like are so deeply hurting themselves, and that there's I think of it like they're just more covered, their real true self, this bright light, this divine spark, this part that is Sat Chit Ananda, as the yogis say, Sat eternal, Chit full of knowledge, Ananda full of bliss, is so covered by layers of conditioning and Maya illusion, as we call it, material energy, that they just don't know another way to be. And so rather than being personally trying to not be personally offended by them or think they're a bad person or think that or condemn them in any way, it's how can I extend compassion and see actually like they are hurting and they're simply disconnected, and maybe there's an unconsciousness that there's even an ability to be connected to something, right? And so trying to view my experience, whether that's like, you know, with people I don't know personally, like on the news and politics and such, or whether that's our community here in Vermont, our Bhakti House community that Krishna's used us to create, my husband and I, and or that's with my family, you know, and what is it? It said that your family doesn't just know how to push your buttons, they installed your buttons.
Yeah, if
So
you
they
think you're
like,
enlightened, go spend the weekend with your family. Yes.
yeah, Ram Dass said that, if you think you're light. And I have the most amazing, wonderful family, and and right, it doesn't mean they always act the way that I want, right? And I don't act the
Yeah.
way that they want, right? So firstly, I'd say really to try to, I think it's a practice of compassion, to
Yeah.
try to practice more compassion. And it's also, you know, how do, instead of seeing someone from their behaviors or their conditioning, I can remember that there is a soul beneath all of that. And someone who, just like me, is
Yeah.
deeply seeking love and connection and belonging. So that changes a lot, right? If I can clean the lens through which I'm seeing the world, right, I can then have a different experience.
That
And
equal vision we are talking
yeah,
about, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Just seeing everyone as a spirit soul.
yeah, and that everyone is seeking, whether they're conscious of it or not, we all are seeking the experience of going home, whether that's going
Yeah.
home within our own hearts, whether that's going home to a God of our understanding, whether that's living authentically and being less codependent or whatever it might be. And so it's really Bhakti's invited me to soften, right? To soften my hard
Mm,
edges and in how I interact with others.
beautiful. So this compassion, and I think this is going to lead my next question. You are an end of life doula.
Yeah.
So that somehow channeled into that direction. Can you tell us what led you to become an
Yeah.
end of life doula?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, my journey to becoming an end of life doula really began through love and loss, right? So,
Mm.
my best friend of 30 years, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2020. And, you know, amidst the pandemic and such. And she navigated that experience and journey with her family and me by her side and others, of course, for 14 months. And then she left her body. And, you know, I already was working with people, like teaching them meditation and how to create a spiritual practice and how to have less anxiety and doing energy healing. And so she was across the country. I was here in Vermont, but I started like working with her as, you know, as a gift to my best friend to help her with anxiety around the unknown of what was going to happen, the outcome, and doing energy healing, and also just what naturally unfolded was I couldn't help myself but be the one in the room that would say, this is not what I want to have happen. However, let's talk about the other option if you don't survive cancer, right? And so I ended up
Mm.
having a conversation with her around that, and her mom,
Wow.
And what is it, how do you want to live now? Like say you knew you only had 6 months to live. What do you want to do? Let's do it. And let's hope that you're going to live, but how can I support you in doing that? And so, yeah, through that process, which is truthfully came, it was like not me doing it. I knew what
Yes.
needed to be said because it was coming through me. And
It
one of the
reminds me
last,
of Bhagavatam, King Parikshit's having a conversation with Shukadev Goswami
yeah.
about, I have 7 days to live. Teach me about spirituality. Like, wow. Like you literally brought that on.
Well, I'm not comparing myself in any way to any of the personalities in the Bhagavatam. However, they
No,
perhaps they inspired, and on
yeah,
it, I
they
had it.
inspired.
Yeah, yeah, and this was really like this was happening parallel to me, my bhakti like exploding like within myself,
Mm.
and really giving myself, surrendering to Krishna and giving myself to the experiment of the practice and the teachings. And so it was like coinciding. So it was a really powerful and scary and sad. I left that long-term relationship, went to India, my friend got diagnosed with cancer, and it was the pandemic all at the same time,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So it was hard. It was
Yeah.
very, very difficult. And yeah,
High
one of
gear
the
transformation.
yeah,
Yeah, and
such a year of
also,
transformation.
and that breaking down, like it sounds like you were just sort of shattered in so many
Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was furloughed from I worked in corporate wellness, and my team was furloughed, so I also started my own business during that time too. And it
Ah,
was wild. Remembering it is like, oh my God, there was
PTSD.
just so much pain. There was so much
wow.
pain and there was so much love. And one of the last things she said to me was, just promise me that you'll help other people do this.
Mm. Oh,
And yeah, and I didn't have all the tools at an end of life doula at that time, so like I hadn't asked her like, do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? And until she was actually no longer able to speak, but I was able to get into the hospital as her family's spiritual advisor because it was COVID. You couldn't have visitors, so they called me their
great.
spiritual advisor, and I got it. And we developed like a system where she would blink for how many, if it was yes, she blinked 3 times, if it was no, blink once, and so we're able to determine there at the end what she wanted for the end for her remains. And so then she left her body and a reservoir of grief opened inside of me. I'd never let myself really grieve any losses. I didn't understand loss or grief, which is, I believe, the norm in our society. So I was so, so sad. And I didn't understand what was going on for me, and also made people, after a certain amount of time passed, it made others around me uncomfortable. Like, okay, it's time to
Mhm.
move on,
Yes.
and I couldn't. And I knew that that wasn't what I needed to do. So I started studying grief. I started studying grief so that I could figure out what I was going through and how to learn tools to help myself through it. And I knew that I would help others with that as well. And then I enrolled in an end of life doula program that they actually have here in Vermont through the University of Vermont. So maybe 6 months. She left her body in December, and I began that in April. And so yeah, that's how I became an end of life doula. It was the greatest loss of my life, and she also gave me the greatest gift, which was really changing the trajectory of my life and bringing me to my knees, which made me throw my hands up and say, like, I need a place to take shelter. So I really turned to my relationship with Radha Krishna, and poured myself into bhakti.
Wow.
So how have your own fears around death changed?
Yeah, isn't that an interesting question? I don't think my work has removed all fear of death, but it's definitely transformed my relationship with death. So it's something I think about every single day. It's something
Beautiful.
that I have, and something I share with people is like thinking ahead, planning ahead, right? And so we kind of in our minds
Mm.
think that I'm going to leave my body when I am 90 years old, like in the Notebook, like with my husband, and we're going to be snuggling and it's going to be peaceful, and maybe, right? But also I might leave my body tomorrow. So how am I going to live today so that when I put my head on my pillow at night and I don't wake up tomorrow, right? That
It's
I've
fine.
told the people I love that I love them, that I've done the forgiveness work that I need to do so I'm not feeling regretful, right? That I can say I'm sorry to those that I have hurt and say thank you to the ones that have, made an impact in my life. So I I have my whole celebration of life planned out. Honestly, I hope to be there. If I have a terminal illness, I want to have it before I leave my body. And I actually want to address everyone there as well. I have the music, I have the food,
Amazing.
and I've learned that doing that in contemplating death is not to be morbid or to be a downer, but rather to be sobering and to accept the reality that none of us are getting out alive. Everything in this material world is temporary. Everyone we love is also going to leave their body. So if I spend some time contemplating that, I won't be so shocked when it happens. I'll still be sad. I will still have my grieving process, right? However, to accept impermanence is something that I think that it actually illuminates life and allows us to live more radiantly, more authentically, more in our truth. We don't waste as much time, and we don't need to wait until the end to ask those questions like, what matters most to me? And what do I value? And what I value is not just what I say I value, it's what I spend my time doing and what I spend my money on. And is that actually a reflection of what matters to me? And if it isn't, I can change that.
Right, right.
Right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. A couple quick things that there's a dancer friends of mine who
Yeah.
have done these performances that are about how they would celebrate when they're dead, and they've done this, and it's a thing
Beautiful.
that people do. Yes, like put on this show that this is their performance of their funeral or whatever it is. But the other thing I was thinking is that when I've been doing something, and maybe this is something they teach you about as a doula, end of life doula, is that I find myself when I'm scared going through and saying, I love this person, I love this person, I forgive this person, I'm sorry this person, like doing this sort of mantra that and I now realize that I should just not do it just when I'm scared. I should do it all the time, So thank you. Thank you for that. I just,
Yeah,
yes,
Good reminder.
yeah, yeah. So
Now, I mean,
go
what you
ahead.
do is quite intense, right? Sorry, Kate,
No, no, go
I'm
ahead,
barging in.
Lauren. Yeah, go.
It's really intense because that is the biggest fear of every human.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you do? What practices that you do daily that help you be grounded while doing such an emotional work?
Right.
Yeah, my sadhana, my daily spiritual practice, is really that which allows me, I think, to do this work. Um, I also believe that we each have different dharma, our soul's purpose in this life, and I've I spend all my days talking about God and death. And those are like two things, other than politics, those are three things you don't talk about at the dinner table, right? So but that's it lights me up to talk about it. I'm like, I move towards that. And I historically have not had a difficult time talking about difficult things. Even especially when it came to other people, right? I say I'm in lifelong recovery from codependency. And so my habit is also my conditioning is to just accommodate everyone at my own expense. And so I've done years of work of understanding what a boundary is and how that creates space for me to love you and me.
Hello, right, Kate? I was looking at Kate because Kate is a queen of that.
Yeah.
I could learn. I could learn from
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Right. So
We all
I
can.
would say my sadhana, my spiritual practice, but also my energetic practices are key to allow me to do this work. So, right, my sadhana, that for me, I return every day to mantra meditation. So japa, so chanting the Maha Mantra that my teachers have given me, right, on a mala bead. Right. And I've made vows to chant a certain amount every day. And I study sacred wisdom, like you referenced the Bhagavatam, right? That speaks to this. What do we do when we find out we're going to die? Right? And here you go, right? It's turn to your most important relationship, right? Because where my consciousness is at the time of death is said that's where I'm going to go. So am I thinking about bills and money and my accomplishments and my achievements, right? Or am I thinking about my eternal position and connection to source, right? Because I want to go back to source, right? Rather than come back and have to deal with this again,
For
again, and
sure.
again, the view agony, right? So, and then
Exactly.
I move my body, movement, whether that's yoga asana, or I love biking and spinning and hiking and stand up paddleboarding and running and lifting weights, that's also a way to move stuck energy or move
Yeah.
anything that may have bound onto me that somebody else's. I spend time in nature, right? I actually
Yes.
really value spending time alone. So I love people, and I'm an extrovert big time, and my husband's actually an introvert big time. But I now truly understand my need to go in and take
Mm.
refuge and be still and quiet. And I have like a well-being team. I call them, like, I receive healing support, right? So
Love it.
I receive energy healing. I go to the acupuncturist. I get a monthly massage. Like, I go to the chiropractor, and that's not available to everyone. I'm fortunate. I don't have children at this time in my life, right? I have
Yeah.
more freedom in my schedule, and I'm fortunate to have the privilege to have the means to do that. And maybe not every month I do all of that, right? But at least once a month I'm doing some of that. But every day I'm going outside. Every day I am doing my meditation. Every day I'm praying. Every day I am reading at least one
Yeah.
page, right? So,
Beautiful.
and then I would say I stay connected to Sangha, to spiritual community,
Ah,
to those who are more junior than me, to those that are my peers, and especially to those that are more senior to me, that
yeah.
to learn and grow, because we're not meant to walk this path alone.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. That's beautiful. I'm in Turkey now, and I was just talking to my teacher earlier, who is in Vietnam. And
Mm.
we were just talking about how the importance of Sangha again, especially when you are outside of your community, you
Yep.
really feel then. And well, thank God to
Yeah.
Zoom gods and internet gods and
I know.
all the connections that we have now, that we are never alone, and our Sangha is right within our reach, and it is such a necessity,
It's such a
isn't it, to
necessity.
keep you grounded, to keep you
Yeah,
honest.
and when,
Yeah.
like, if I'm low, someone else can uplift, or if someone else is low and I'm high, then I uplift them, right? It's like this, it's reciprocity. It's a loving exchange to get to engage and to be honest and authentic and share in confidence with each other.
Mm.
And I believe so strongly in the power of Sangha, right? Of course, and so do our teachers and the texts that we read. And I didn't know any devotees in Vermont. There were no devotees, Bhakti
Ah.
Yogis in Vermont. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed for association and association. And then Krishna used me to create devotees, right? To introduce
Yes.
it. So anyone, if you're listening to this in your place where you're like, I don't have association, you
Yes.
can create it. And you can zoom in, right, to different places, but also we're each are fully capable and empowered of sharing that which has impacted our lives with others, right? And so if you want more bhakti, you share bhakti, and that's how you actually get more
That's
bhakti.
right.
Now, do you?
Well, you're just hearing for the listeners from the bright light of Vermont. So,
Yes.
yes.
And can people zoom into your Sangha in Vermont? Is that a possibility if they were
Yes,
interested? Oh, good.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
We'll
yeah.
share.
So
Can you share with us all your information, so including Instagram, so we can all put everything so people can reach out to you?
yes, I'd love that. I'll share my personal
Perfect.
Instagram as well as our community's Instagram. And we have Shastra
Beautiful.
classes and morning programs and kirtans and sharing heart circles and many different things. So yeah, and almost everything we do has a virtual option so people can
Amazing.
be from afar.
Can I ask
Yeah.
one question about the end of life doula?
Please.
Is it something that someone you see them over a series of days or times, or is it different for everyone? Just, how does it just sort of set up and work?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's unique and personalized. So it is different for everyone. There are some where, as an end of life doula, I think of myself as I'm like a material and spiritual compassionate care guide, if
Mm.
you will, right? So it's not me projecting my spiritual path on anyone. It's not You know, yeah, it's providing a space, it's holding compassionate space, and that could look like being along the ride for the last few weeks or months of someone's time in their body. It could be just meeting one time. It could be, you know, I go and sit with families and help them have like closure conversations. It could be asked to be there when someone is leaving their body or not. You know, and it can also be caring for the family or whomever wants the care after the say it's a person who has left their body to support them in grieving.
Gotcha.
Right. So it can be before, during the actual dying process, or after or after. And I also bring end of life work into work with every client I work with, right? They like come in because they
Beautiful.
want energy
Yeah.
healing, right? It's like, well, we are all actually actively dying. We're all dying. We're
Yeah.
aging, right?
Every
But we
moment.
may not have a diagnosis,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone I work with, we do grief work, right? And
Amazing.
everyone I work with, I bring up, you know, what's your relationship with God? And or the divine of your understanding is typically what I say. And
Mm.
also, what's your relationship with death,
Mm.
right? And
Very important. Mm.
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
I believe it is really important. I'm with you on that. Yeah, so it's
Well,
situational. Does that answer your
Yeah, it
question,
does.
Kate?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
now we have literally no time left, and we have
How could that be?
the slew of questions that we want to ask you.
Okay.
But that's for maybe another time. For
Mm.
now, we just want to thank you for bringing us into your world, sharing your incredible work. And we want to ask you one last question.
Mm.
Would you be so kind enough to lead us into a chant as we are saying goodbye to our listeners?
I would love that. Yes, and thank you so
Yay.
much for having me and allowing me the opportunity to share about honoring our wholeness of our experience, not just
Mm.
celebrating birth, but also celebrating the final rite of passage, which is death. And to honor both the light and shadow in our lives, the yin and yang, masculine and feminine, which it just allows us to live more fully and completely and wholly. So thank you. And yes, I'd love to share some kirtan.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. This is a treat, you guys.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Kishori Gopi. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time. Bye now.